How do you assemble an Ikea Kallax bookshelf? Stick around and we'll get it done in a few minutes. Ubiquitous Allen key. Do not use the Ikea supplied Allen key. Absolute waste of time. At the very least, use a decent manual Allen key, but if you're going to be doing any sort of number of these, get yourself a drill driver and use an Allen key bit, as I'll show you in a moment. There we go. Okay, so make sure you've got these middle ones here on the inside of the bookshelf, obviously, otherwise you'll have some problems later. And then similarly with the side, obviously black side on the outside, these holes on the inside. Get lined up, good to go. Obviously you do need a level floor for this, and might be a little bit of offset because you can see the height isn't quite the same, so you might need to just play with that. If you haven't already, get yourself one of these bits, that's worth its weight in gold. So that's a 4mm hex bit there. Make sure if you're using a drill driver, I'd recommend setting it to high speed. So this has got 2 speeds, high speed. And initially I'd set it to a very low torque, so this will determine how tight it goes before it stops turning, the clutch kicks in. So I'd set it to, honestly, 3 to begin with until you get a feel for it, because if you set it to a high number, it will keep turning and turning and turning, even when it reaches the tightness it really probably should be at, which means that you'll strip the thread or the wood inside the shelf in this case, which will then obviously render the thing useless. So definitely one to be very cautious of, and if this is your first time, then yeah, get yourself just a normal Allen key, 4mm. So I would recommend getting both of them just poking out slightly, like 5mm or so, and then that way you can just line them up with the holes on the other part. There you go, just poking out slightly, maybe a touch more than that. Yeah, so maybe more like 10mm. That's it. And then they should line up really nicely. Yeah, perfect. And because of the offset, I would recommend, oh, you can see that's not tight enough, so we'll just turn that up a bit. It's already popped out, so we just need to just hold that up. There we go. Make sure it's as square as it can possibly be there. So get this one in slightly. That does go in tight. So you've got that started. Now you can keep going until it's like proper size. Let's try it with 14. That's it. So 14 is probably the right setting, but do them in halfway first just to get them located, and then there you go. That's pretty much flush. It's just slightly proud. You can feel it on your finger as you run it over, which seems to be fine. There's probably feet going to go on that, or caps of some sort later on. A couple of these long dowels, quite thin, but also quite long dowels. And judging by this, I'd say put them into the shelf first, or the vertical support, I should say. And looking at the picture, I'd say it's one of these. It's asking to do. Let's check it lines up. Yeah, that's probably right. So let's get a hammer. So with these, it's just a case of just locating them in, hold them in, and just gently tap them in. You can use a rubber mallet as well, but as long as you're respectful of the hammer, you'll just feel you keep tapping, you'll feel the tone of it just change slightly when it goes all the way in. Perfect. And same again. If you just offer it up, you can see that they're the same depth in there, and then just offer it up to the holes, and just probably just squeeze it with your hands, honestly. Yeah, just a little bit at a time, not too far each way, and then try and thump it in the middle if you can. If it obviously goes, there you go, simple as that. So thumping it in the middle with your hand is enough. I wouldn't recommend doing that with your hammer. You'll damage the finish on there. Just one of these. It's going to go in here, and this has got 2 holes there and 2 holes there, so it doesn't matter which way around you do it. And again, this is going to need 2 dowels, I think, probably at both ends and in the middle there. Now, of course, you can, to make these extra strong, you can put a little bit of wood glue in there as well. For speed, I'm not going to do that. I think it's going to be quite sufficient without, but if you want to do bell and braces, just a little drop of wood glue in each of those holes. And yeah, while I've got it here, I'm going to put the other dowels in as well, I think. It tells you to knock them through from the other side, which is quite interesting. Okay, well, we'll try it the way the instructions suggest. Yeah, we'll do it the way they want. Sometimes there's a subtle reason that's not obvious. So again, line them up, and then just edge it in for a bit. Okay, so now that's in that way, now we can whack the dowels in as it suggests, straight through. So these, not a technique I've seen before. I suspect it's easier to put them in first, but we'll try it that way first. Yeah, as you can see, it's just starting to poke through. I'll do the same with the bottom one. Yeah, just starting to poke through. And then we can knock the top one in a bit. Let's put it in. Bottom one in. Don't need to mess about with the alignment, seems to be working fine. Sort of always be easier to flip the whole thing on its back, I think, at this point. Just need to be super careful not to break those down. Yeah, there it goes. So now we knock these dowels through here. And this is going to sag down a bit, so we have to sort of just raise it up a bit to compensate. I'm going to do one at a time this time. This one, oh, it's pushing right in with my fingers. So, go on here. Now we need a long thin one. Stick a couple of dowels in the top. And offer it up to those holes there. Push it down, seesaw effect again, absolutely fine. And you can see these holes, you can see how this is dipping down a bit. So you obviously got to be cautious of that a little bit. So lift it back up for the first dowel. That's a bit tight to that one. Okay, so I think now it's going to be a case of get the final shelf on, thin one. Again, this is going to dip down slightly after we've put this on. Seesaw. That's it. So before we put this end piece on, we've got to get the other side on, which the way I'm doing it here will go on the top. So to do that, I need to put the dowels in each of these holes. So each of these end bits is going to have 2 dowels in it, which is what the spare dowels are for here. 2 more. 2 more. Okay, and this is nice and light, honestly. It's just chipboard, it's very light. It's typical Ikea kind of manufacturing, nothing wrong with it. Very good. Yeah, good honest engineering, I'd say. I don't expect to behave like a solid wood bookcase, but it's going to be great. I think it'll look good when it's done. Okay, once they're all like they're sort of lined up, give it a gentle tap, both sides. That's it. That's it. There we go. So they're all pretty much closed up, which is great. Now we can get the 2 dowels on here, which we'll need. Nice and easy. Off with this up. And as you can see, that is dropping down a bit, like I said earlier. Just offer it up, and with your knee sort of push against it. And then it'll just be a case of putting these screws in. Obviously you need to decide what's the top and what's the bottom once you've got it finished. Same, exactly the same bit as before, 4mm hex bit. Just going fairly gently to start with for this first one. See, it's pushing it away slightly. Just hold on to it, get your weight behind the drill driver. See, it didn't quite close up even when it torqued out, so that was on 14, which is pretty tight. So I just kept doing it, and it did eventually incrementally pull it in. This one should be a bit easier because it should be better aligned. There you go, yeah, straight in, no problem. That one, that did it too on the bottom. You can see a slight gap there, so you get a bit of affirmation, visual affirmation once it closes up. Stick that one in. Again, just be fairly gentle, just wait till it touches, engages. Yeah, that's obviously in. And again, that's in. One more for good measure, that's definitely in. And that's in, that's beautiful. Swap to the other end. Yeah, and obviously you can do it horizontal or vertical. I'm thinking probably vertical, to be honest, but I guess it could be a TV cabinet with lots of holes underneath. Once you've decided that, obviously you get the feet on it, and then yeah, it is all about putting these brackets in it. And then you can see these holes at the top here, that's for putting these brackets on, which you can use to hold it against the wall should you choose to. Obviously I'd recommend you do, because that will mean that and there's a cover there as well, these plastic covers. By attaching these will, obviously safety wise, it's better to be safe than sorry kind of thing. So what happens is you put that on there like that, and then you put this on the wall itself, okay, and then sorry, make a hole for that on the wall, and then you actually screw it to the wall through that plate, so it sits like that. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So you stick that on there like that, okay, and then put a screw in the wall for that, and then line this up with the screw, and then stick that over the screw, and then tighten the screw up. That's how that would work. So then you'd end up with this strapped to the bookshelf and this strapped to the wall, and that would obviously then stop it falling away from the wall. And you've got a choice there of whether it's flush against the wall or a little bit of a gap. Personally I prefer it flush, but you might want to leave a gap for cables and things like that going onto the top. Okay, and then you can cover the whole thing over with that. That's what that's for there. I'm not sure we're going to be using those, but we will see.